Picture this. You are standing in a courtyard in 17th century Japan.
Okay.
Across from you is Yagyu Munenori. He is, one of the most legendary, lethal swordsmen to ever walk the earth.
Right, a total master.
Exactly. And as a final test of your abilities, just without any warning, he draws his katana and launches a full-speed killing strike aimed right at you.
Wow.
Now, I want you to picture defending against that live whistling blade using nothing but a tightly rolled up piece of paper.
I mean, it sounds completely mythical, right? It sounds like something out of like a beautifully choreographed wuxia film. But according to the historical records of the Yagi Shingan Ryu lineage, that is exactly what the master Araki Mateman did.
With a piece of paper.
With a piece of paper. And look, he didn't survive because paper is somehow stronger than steel.
Right.
He survived because he wasn't fighting the sword at all. He was fighting the intention behind it.
We are jumping straight into the deep end today. So, welcome to the deep dive, everyone. We are taking a massive stack of incredibly dense sources. We're talking historical records, biomechanical analyses, and the foundational texts of 5 very distinct martial arts.
It's a lot of material.
It is. And our mission is to deconstruct those sources to analyze a brand new theoretical hybrid system. We're calling it Shingan Water Mantis.
Or the way of the evergreen mind.
Yes, exactly. And the overarching mission here for this deep dive is to reverse engineer a completely different kind of martial arts engine. Because normally when you walk into a traditional dojo, you are basically handed a closed source operating system.
Yeah, the curriculum is totally rigid.
Very rigid.
The stances are locked in. It's highly dogmatic. They hand you this ancient code and basically tell you, do not alter a single line of it.
Right, just copy what we do. But this new style we are examining today is designed as bare metal. It is an open source, endlessly flexible operating system.
Which is huge.
It is. It's built to prioritize your absolute defense, to accommodate literally any skill level right from day one. And crucially, it's meant to let you seamlessly bolt on whatever new styles or applications you find useful.
Like Tai Chi, for instance.
Exactly. Tai Chi, Western boxing, whatever.
And to understand how a system like that could possibly function in the actual chaos of a real-world conflict, we have to dissect the source code it borrows from.
Right. The 5 foundational arts.
Yes. ATA Taekwondo, Jeet Kune Do, Muay Thai, Northern Praying Mantis, and that ancient samurai art you mentioned, Yagi Shingenrei.
And I promise you, whether you've spent, 10,000 hours on the mats, or you are just someone looking for the ultimate mental framework for self-defense, or even just conflict resolution in your daily life, this deep dive is going to completely rewire how you view adaptability.
So we have to start with the software.
The software, okay.
Yeah. Before anyone throws a single punch or drops into a stance, we need to understand the mental framework that powers the Shingan Water Mantis engine.
Which brings us back to Araki Mateman and that rolled up piece of paper.
Exactly. We need to talk about the mind's eye, the Shingan.
Let's unpack that. Because Shingan, it sounds a bit mystical.
It does. The term Shingan is a concept inherited directly from Yagyu Shingen Ryu. That's a traditional samurai warrior tradition,
Right.
a ko-ri from ancient Japan.
Right.
And its philosophical roots dig really deep into Japanese Zen Buddhism. Literally translated, Shingan refers to the ability to see and sense via the mind's eye.
And just to be totally clear for everyone listening, we are stripping away the mysticism here. We are not talking about, psychic abilities.
Oh, no.
Or fighting blindfolded like some movie trope.
Far from it. In the context of brutal life-or-death samurai combat, Shingan is actually a hyper-developed neurological sense of awareness.
Neurological. Okay.
Yeah, it's the trained capacity to read a combatant's micro-expressions, their kinetic energy, and their nonverbal telegraphs.
Okay, wait, let's unpack this a bit more. Because reading a telegraph is one thing, right? Like noticing someone dropping their shoulder before they throw a big overhand, right? That's just standard fighting procedure.
Right. Any decent fighter does that.
But Shingan goes deeper than that, doesn't it?
Much deeper.
Yeah.
Because by the time a shoulder drops, the physical sequence of the attack has already begun. The muscles are moving.
Right.
Shingan is about sensing the neurological decision to attack before the motor cortex even fully executes the movement.
Oh, wow.
Going back to our historical source on Araki Mateman, the founder Takanaga Hayato, Mateman was able to sense Munenori's intent to strike by reading, these minute shifts in his master's breathing.
Just breathing.
Breathing, yeah. Or the sudden stillness in his gaze, the imperceptible tension in his core.
So he was reacting to the decision itself, not the blade.
Exactly. The paper was just a physical extension. He used it to gently guide a trajectory he already knew was coming.
That is wild.
He basically occupied the space where the sword was going to be, a fraction of a second before the sword even knew it was going there.
That supreme anticipatory awareness is basically the baseline software of our hybrid style here.
It is.
But awareness is kind of useless if your body is locked into some rigid classical stance that prevents you from instantly moving to that space, right?
Spot on. You must be able to physically adapt to what the mind's eye is showing you.
Which brings us to the second, and I think highly controversial, pillar of our core philosophy, formless flexibility.
Enter Bruce Lee and Jeet Kune Do.
JKD. Okay, talk to me about this.
Well, Jeet Kune Do, or JKD, it completely disrupted the martial arts landscape.
Sure.
Bruce Lee viewed the classical traditions, the locked-in stances, the rigid katas, as a classical mess.
A classical mess. I love that term.
He argued that in a real chaotic street-level altercation, adhering to a prearranged pattern is basically a death sentence.
Because it's too predictable.
Predictable and slow. Combat is alive, it's messy, and it's constantly mutating.
And this is where Lee's famous analogy comes in, right? The one about water, which the sources know he actually borrowed directly from Chan Buddhism.
Yes. The idea that water is infinitely flexible. It isn't bound by a shape.
Right, you pour it into a cup, it becomes the cup.
Exactly. It can gently flow around a pebble, or, it can crash with enough force to snap a tree in half.
And the underlying philosophy there is that Buddhist concept of constantly emptying one's cup.
Right. Because you cannot learn anything new, and you certainly can't adapt in real time to a chaotic attack if your mind is already full of rigid preconceptions about how a fight should look.
You have to be a blank slate.
Lee preached that you must absorb what is useful, discard what is useless, and add what is specifically your own.
That is the exact open source analogy we are running with today for Shingan Water Mantis. It treats the Yagyu Zen awareness, that mind's eye, and the JKD formlessness as the bare metal hardware and operating system.
It is a completely blank, highly responsive slate.
And because it casts off those rigid traditions, the engine is designed to seamlessly bolt on any new styles.
Right, and this is where it gets really practical. If you try to bolt the soft, yielding mechanics of Tai Chi onto a highly rigid, linear, hard-style karate system,
Crash.
you're going to get a systemic crash. The biomechanics just fight each other.
No.
But with our bare metal engine, it works flawlessly.
And the sources provide incredible historical proof for this, which I found fascinating. Tai Chi wasn't just some random addition to this deep dive.
No, not at all.
It was actually one of the foundational influences that Bruce Lee absorbed when he was creating JKD.
Yes, he studied it.
Furthermore, looking at the northern praying mantis system, there are entire lineages that did exactly this.
Oh yeah, like Taiji praying mantis and Taiji plum blossom praying mantis.
Exactly. Masters like Kui Shan and Zhao Zuxi, they successfully took the internal flowing principles of Tai Chi and bolted them directly onto the external rapid-fire mechanics of the mantis system.
And they created a beautifully functioning hybrid because the underlying architecture allowed for it. Shingan Water Mantis is designed for that exact kind of endless modular expansion.
You can constantly update the software.
Precisely.
But, okay, here is the glaring real-world problem with all of this.
Let's hear it.
We have this beautiful, formless, hyper-aware philosophical software, but if someone walks into a training hall on day one and they've never thrown a punch in their life, you cannot just tell them to empty their cup and be like water.
Right, because they don't have a cup yet.
Exactly. They lack the absolute basic physical grammar of balance, distance, and motor control.
It is the ultimate pedagogical paradox of formlessness. How do you build an on-ramp for a pure beginner without trapping them in the very rigidity you are trying to avoid?
Right. How do you teach formlessness without a form?
Our theoretical style solves this by borrowing the highly structured curriculum of ATA Taekwondo.
Specifically, the philosophy of Sangam, which translates from the Korean sources as pine tree and rock.
It's such a profound metaphor for physical and mental progression. In the ATA system, a practitioner begins as a pure, unknowing seed.
That's the white belt.
Exactly. And through highly structured, repetitive training, that seed slowly pushes down strong roots into the rock. It grounds itself.
And over years, it grows into a massive, immovable pine tree.
It's a system of evergreen growth. And practically speaking, this hybrid utilizes ATA's 9-level colored belt system to track that growth.
From a purely psychological standpoint, navigating a completely formless system is terrifying for a novice brain.
Oh, absolutely.
The human mind requires short-term motivation, right? We need trackable milestones.
We need the dopamine.
Yes. The nine little belt system breaks an infinite philosophy down into digestible, achievable dopamine hits. It keeps the practitioner engaged while they build the necessary muscle memory.
But with that belt system comes the ATA curriculum, specifically the use of Poon-sei.
The forms.
Right. These are preset, choreographed combinations of offensive and defensive techniques that simulate fighting multiple attackers. They also utilize highly scripted, one-step sparring drills.
And the repetition of these pumse serves a very specific neurological function, according to the sources.
It does. It myelinates the neural pathways.
Let's explain that, because that's a great concept.
By performing the exact same biomechanical sequence thousands of times, the practitioner is wrapping those specific neural circuits in a fatty layer called myelin.
Which acts like insulation on a wire, right?
Exactly. It vastly increases the speed and efficiency of the electrical signals from the brain to the muscles.
Okay, I have to push back hard on this, though.
Go for it.
We literally just spent 10 minutes talking about how Bruce Lee despised rigid forms. He called them the classical mess. He said they cause martial paralysis in a real fight.
He did say that.
So why on earth are we taking a JKD-inspired formless system and intentionally bolting heavily scripted traditional forms back into the source code? Isn't that totally compromising the bare metal philosophy?
I get why you're asking that. It definitely looks like a contradiction on the surface. But when we synthesize the pedagogy across our sources, it reveals a crucial distinction between learning to fight and learning how your body works.
Okay, break that down.
JKD rejects classical pedagogy for the fighter. But a white belt is not a fighter.
That's true.
A white belt doesn't know how to shift their weight without falling over. They don't understand the kinetic chain of generating power from the floor through the hips into the fist.
So they need training wheels.
Precisely. They need the ATA structure, the forms, and the scripted one-steps to safely learn proprioception.
Proprioception, meaning where is my body in space?
Yes. How do I control my momentum? You use the rigid forms to build the physical cup.
I see.
Once the student has established those deep pine tree roots, once the basic motor patterns run on autopilot, then you introduce the JKD philosophy.
Then you tell them to discard the forms.
Exactly. You empty the cup and enter the chaos of live, formless combat.
You construct the scaffolding to build the building, and then you tear the scaffolding down. I absolutely love that.
It's a very practical progression.
And when that student finally enters the realm of live combat within the Shingan water mantis system, there is one absolute non-negotiable directive, right?
Defense is the ultimate priority.
Defense first. So we are transitioning from the philosophy into the brutal physical reality of the art now. The system deploys what we're calling a layered defensive matrix.
Yes, 4 distinct walls of defense.
And these are designed to keep the practitioner entirely safe, neutralizing incoming kinetic energy while expending the absolute minimum amount of their own energy.
Let's dissect this matrix, starting from the outermost perimeter.
Layer 1 is distance control, and we are lifting this straight out of the brutal rings of Thailand. We are using the Muay Thai teep.
The teep, often referred to as a push kick or a foot thrust.
But calling it a push kick is almost a disservice to the mechanics of it, honestly.
Right.
When we look at a traditional karate front kick, there's a snapping motion, right? Often targeting the groin or the chin.
Right, a very fast snapping strike.
But the Muay Thai teep is a completely different beast. It's a heavy, linear thrust. It utilizes the ball of the foot or the entire heel, driving straight through the target.
The biomechanics of the teeps are designed to act as a structural wedge.
A wedge.
Yes. It is not necessarily thrown to cause a knockout. It is thrown to destroy momentum.
Yeah.
You are firing the longest, heaviest weapon you have, which is your leg, directly into the opponent's midsection or their hip flexor or their thigh.
So in our defensive matrix, this is basically the early warning system.
Exactly. If an aggressive attacker tries to bridge the gap and rush into punching range, a well-timed teep completely disrupts their center of gravity.
It just knocks them backward.
Or halts them dead in their tracks before they can even launch a strike.
But you must always account for a highly skilled or, an incredibly athletic opponent. What if they anticipate the teep?
Right. What if they catch it?
Yeah, what if they absorb it, parry the leg, and successfully breach that outer perimeter?
Well, they enter punching range. And that immediately triggers layer 2 of the matrix, interception.
We are back to Bruce Lee's domain here.
We are. The name Jeet Kune Do itself literally translates to the way of the intercepting fist.
The intercepting fist. So JKD operates on the principle that the most efficient defense is actually a highly calibrated offense.
Specifically deployed to intercept the opponent's motion.
These are the concepts of stop hits and stop kicks. Let's dig into that.
Consider the physics of an attack. For an opponent to strike you, they must generate forward momentum. They have to close the distance and extend a limb.
Right, they have to reach for you.
And that movement, by definition, creates an opening. JKD adherents are taught never to passively absorb or block a strike.
Never just block.
Instead, they intercept the incoming attack with an attack of their own, crashing into the opponent's forward momentum.
And the sources show a fascinating lineage for this specific mechanic. Bruce Lee didn't pull this from traditional kung fu. He heavily adapted it from European épée fencing.
Yes, fencing. It's brilliant.
In modern fencing, the counterattack is built on catching the opponent on their way in, hitting their extended target area before their blade reaches you.
And applying that fencing footwork and timing to barehanded combat requires exquisite mastery of distance.
Absolutely.
And running parallel to the stop hit is another critical JKD mechanism. And this one is inherited from Wing Chun. Simultaneous parrying and punching.
Now, this breaks the cardinal rule of most traditional sparring. Usually, you are taught a 1-2 rhythm, you block the incoming jab, and then you throw your countercross.
It's a syncopated beat. Block, strike, block, strike.
Exactly. But that 1-2 rhythm is disastrously slow in a real altercation, isn't it?
It gives the attacker too much time to recover. So Shingan Water Mantis compresses that into a single beat.
Single beat.
You are parrying the incoming strike with your lead hand, subtly redirecting their force off your center line, while simultaneously driving your rear hand into their newly exposed face or throat.
It is instantaneous. But look, let's be real here. I've got to play the skeptic again. Stop hits and simultaneous parries require absolute precision. What happens when the reality of physics asserts itself?
What do you mean?
Well, what if the attacker outweighs you by 100 pounds? What if they're throwing a wildly chaotic, looping haymaker that you simply cannot cleanly intercept with a straight punch?
That is exactly the failure point of many striking arts. But in our system, that scenario seamlessly triggers layer 3.
And this is where the biomechanics become truly fascinating.
This is the northern praying mantis whip-like deflection.
I am obsessed with this layer because to understand how a human executes this, the sources mandate that we look at the biology of the actual praying mantis insect.
Right. The martial art wasn't just named for it because it looked cool. It literally reverse-engineered the insect's survival mechanisms.
Let's talk about the insect.
Okay, the praying mantis is an apex ambush predator in the insect world. But structurally, it is quite vulnerable. It is long, it's narrow, and it's heavily armored on its front and back.
But not on the sides.
Right. Because of its narrow chassis, it cannot withstand heavy kinetic force from perpendicular angles. A direct push from the side will completely capsize the insect.
So applying that biology to human combat, how does the northern praying mantis style compensate for that structural weakness? Because humans aren't built to take heavy perpendicular forces to our joints either. If someone hits my knee from the side, it's going to snap.
Exactly. It compensates by completely abandoning the concept of force-on-force blocking.
Abandoning it entirely.
When a heavy punch comes in, a traditional hard block attempts to stop that kinetic energy dead. But if the opponent is much larger, that energy will blow right through your block and shatter your structure.
It'll just crush you.
So the Mantis style instead uses whip-like, highly circular arm motions to catch and deflect direct attacks.
The terminology in the sources calls this removing something, which is such an interesting phrase.
It is.
You aren't stopping the punch. You are creating a localized void for the punch to fall into, redirecting its vector past you.
Yes.
And the physical tool used for this is the iconic Mantis hook.
The Mantis hook is a highly specialized hand posture. The wrist is heavily flexed, and the practitioner directs force using only 1 to 3 fingers. Specifically, the thumb, index, and middle finger pinched together.
Okay, wait. We are talking about surviving a massive adrenaline-fueled attack from a larger opponent?
Right.
If you reach out and try to catch a flying 200-pound haymaker with 3 fingers, your fingers are going to snap like dry twigs. The physics do not make sense.
If you were attempting to statically block the mass of that punch, your fingers would absolutely shatter.
So how does it work?
The goal is deflection and adherence, not static resistance. The circular whip-like motion of the arm catches the incoming strike at a tangent. You are matching the speed of the limb and gently changing its trajectory.
Ah.
Once the heavy kinetic energy has been redirected safely past your head, the Mantis hook adheres to the opponent's wrist or triceps.
So it's a grappling tool, not a striking shield. You let the train pass you, and then you grab the caboose.
Exactly that. By hooking onto the nervous system hotspots on the opponent's arm, a much smaller defender can utilize leverage to manipulate the balance and posture of a massive attacker.
It's kinetic redirection. That's beautiful. But even the best kinetic redirection fails in total chaos.
Sure, fights are messy.
Let's say the attacker is throwing a blistering, overwhelming combination of punches, knees, and elbows. You couldn't teep them. You missed the interception. The attack is too fast and heavy to catch with a Mantis hook. The matrix is collapsing. What is the absolute last resort?
When the outer layers fail, you fall back to layer 4. The Muay Thai wall in defense.
Total lockdown.
Total lockdown.
This is where you turn yourself into a human turtle shell.
It is the ultimate failsafe. If an attack cannot be dodged or deflected, the practitioner relies on heavy bone structure to protect the vital organs.
Bone structure.
You raise your shins to check incoming low kicks, which results in bone-on-bone impact.
Ouch.
You glue your forearms vertically to your forehead, you tuck your chin, and you use your thick shoulder muscles to absorb heavy hooks and crosses.
You are basically creating an impenetrable structural shield.
Yes.
You are safely absorbing the kinetic energy into your forearms and shoulders, completely protecting the knockout points on your jaw, your temple, and the soft organs of your midsection.
It keeps you alive in the pocket long enough to reset the matrix and find an opening.
And finding that opening is critical, because a fortress can withstand a siege, but defense alone will never win a battle. Eventually, you must neutralize the threat.
Which brings us to the transition point of the fight.
Right, because in Shingan Water Mantis, offense is treated strictly as a secondary countermeasure. You don't initiate the violence.
Yeah.
You deploy offense only when the defensive matrix has created a structural opening in the attacker. And when you finally pull the trigger, the offense is governed entirely by the JKD principle of the economy of motion.
The technique of least action.
Least action. Here's where it gets really interesting. When we talk about least action, we are talking about striking the opponent, utilizing the absolute minimum distance, time, and energy required to deliver a devastating blow.
Simplicity and directness reign supreme over flashy, complex combinations.
And to achieve that devastating impact, the physical striking tools are pulled from the art of 8 limbs, Muay Thai.
Utilizing the fists, elbows, knees, and shins, it is arguably the most brutal striking arsenal on the planet.
But wait, if this system uses the 8 limbs of Muay Thai, how does that square with JKD's economy of motion? Because traditional Thai fighters throw massive, sweeping roundhouse kicks that take enormous energy.
That is exactly where the genius of the hybrid engine comes in. The Muay Thai weapons are heavily filtered through the tactical rules of Jeet Kune Do.
Ah, I see.
The most prominent example from our sources is the JKD mandate regarding kicking targets.
The strict no high kicks rule.
JKD insists that kicks should almost exclusively target the opponent's shins, knees, thighs, and occasionally the lower midsection. They are rarely, if ever, aimed at the head.
Because throwing a spinning high kick to the temple looks phenomenal on a cinema screen, but in the reality of a muddy street fight or crowded bar, it is a biomechanical nightmare.
It takes too long to travel from the floor to a 6-foot target. It vastly compromises your root balance, leaving you susceptible to a takedown.
Right, you're standing on one leg.
Exactly. And most importantly, lower targets are physically closer to the kicking foot.
Makes sense.
A quick, snapping kick to the opponent's lead knee travels a fraction of the distance, requires a fraction of the energy, and is incredibly difficult for the opponent to see coming, let alone defend against. A shattered knee ends the conflict instantly.
We filter the lower limbs, but what about the hands? Traditional Muay Thai, especially in the modern era, absorbed a tremendous amount of Western boxing mechanics.
It did.
The sources outline how Thai fighters adopted the standard jab, cross, hook, and uppercut. But our hybrid system doesn't just throw wild boxing combinations, right?
No, it targets these punches and brutal elbow strikes based entirely on JKD's centerline theory.
Let's talk about the center line.
The center line is a concept Lee pulled directly from his early training in Wing Chun under Ip Man. Imagine a vertical axis running straight down the very center of the human body.
Bisecting the face and chest.
Right, it bisects the nose, the throat, the solar plexus, and the groin.
Basically all the primary neurological and structural knockout points.
The strategic goal is to constantly dominate, control, and strike along the opponent's center line while pivoting and shifting to protect your own.
And the sources provide a brilliant analogy here, likening centerline control to a grandmaster playing chess.
I love this analogy.
In chess, if you control the 4 center squares of the board, you dictate the flow of the entire game.
And in fighting, if you control the center line, you control the opponent's spine, which means you control their balance.
There is another incredibly telling detail from the Muay Thai source text regarding targeting. It notes that heavy body punching like digging left hooks into the liver or crosses into the ribs is actually used far less frequently in traditional Muay Thai than in Western boxing.
Which is very counterintuitive if you just watch boxing.
Why is that? Why avoid the body shots?
It is a matter of anatomical risk assessment. When you drop your hands and shift your weight downward to generate power for a body punch, you are momentarily lowering your guard and exposing your own head.
In Western boxing, that's a calculated risk you take to wear down their stamina because they can only punch you back.
But in Muay Thai, and in a life-or-death self-defense scenario, the opponent is allowed to use knees and elbows.
Oh, right.
Exposing your unprotected head at close range to dig a body shot is practically inviting a devastating knee strike straight up the middle, right into your jaw.
That's terrifying.
The risk of sudden catastrophic brain trauma far outweighs the reward of a bruised rib. Shingan water mantis adopts this exact risk-averse philosophy.
So we have successfully defended the initial assault.
Yeah.
We've countered from the outside with economic low kicks and blistering centerline punches, but fights rarely stay at striking range, do they?
Almost never. Fights collapse.
The distance closes, people grab each other, and it turns into a chaotic wrestling match. When the fight collapses into extremely close quarters, our engine shifts into trapping and clinching.
This is the brutal, claustrophobic inside fighting aspect of the system.
Right.
The practitioner seamlessly merges the rapid, adhering deflections of the northern praying mantis with the absolute structural dominance of the Muay Thai Chap Ko.
The neck wrestling clinch.
Exactly.
The sources outline a deeply technical system of Muay Thai clinches utilized here. It's not just a messy bear hug.
It is highly systematic posture control. The sources detail the arm clinch, where the practitioner swims their hands inside the defender's arms to control their biceps, completely negating their ability to punch.
Brilliant.
There's the side clinch, passing one arm around the front of the opponent's body and the other around the back, applying brutal knee strikes directly to the floating ribs and spine.
And for shorter practitioners, there is the low clinch.
Right, ducking into the opponent's arms entirely to control the lower back and hips.
And perhaps the most famous, the swan neck clinch, or plum clinch, where you snake both hands inside the opponent's guard, lock your palms behind the crown of their head, and pull their face straight down into ascending knee strikes.
It is devastating. By combining the mantis hook to trap and adhere to the limbs, preventing them from counter-striking, and the Muay Thai clinch to shatter their posture, you render the opponent structurally helpless at close range.
But the conflict doesn't end in the clinch. Once you have broken their structure, you must terminate the threat entirely.
And for that, we return to the samurai.
To finish the fight, Shingan Water Mantis executes the bare metal takedowns of Yagyu Shingan Ryu.
Specifically, we are deploying the yawara, the unarmed grappling, and the taijutsu body mechanics of the system.
The historical evolution of these specific takedowns is amazing to me. The sources detail a specific branch, the Edo lineage of Yagyu Shingan Ryu.
Developed by Koyama Salmon.
Yes, the 4th generation soke, or headmaster, in the 1700s.
Understanding the socio-political context of Koyama Salmon is crucial to understanding why these takedowns are so effective today.
Let's contextualize it.
In the 1700s, Koyama Salmon moved to the capital city of Edo, which is present-day Tokyo. The violent warring periods of Japan had largely concluded. The Tokugawa shogunate had established a strict, prolonged period of peace.
And Edo was a massive, bustling, densely populated metropolis.
Which fundamentally changed how people fought. If you are a samurai in a peaceful metropolis, you aren't walking down the street to buy groceries wearing 80 pounds of heavy battlefield armor.
Right, you're wearing street clothes.
Precisely. The heavy, sweeping throws designed to topple an armored warrior on a muddy battlefield were completely obsolete in a civilian setting.
So Koyama-san had to evolve the art.
He adapted the brutal battlefield mechanics for unarmored, extremely close-quarter combat. He engineered the taijutsu system specifically for fighting indoors, in tea houses, or in the narrow, crowded alleyways of Edo.
It is literal 18th century urban self-defense.
Yeah.
And because it was stripped of all the armor and pageantry, the mechanics became ruthlessly mathematically efficient. These takedowns do not rely on picking the opponent up and slamming them with brute strength.
No, they utilize extreme joint manipulation and lever mechanics.
With Yawara grappling at its core, the goal is maximum structural devastation with minimum physical effort. You utilize the opponent's own off-balanced posture, which, by the way, you just shattered in the Muay Thai clinch against them.
You isolate a joint, apply kinetic leverage, and drive their own mass into the concrete.
Okay, let's pull all of this together and visualize the entire sequence running at full speed on this bare metal engine.
Walk us through the matrix.
All right. You are standing in front of an aggressive attacker. You sense the adrenaline spike and the decision to attack via your Shingan, your mind's eye.
You see it before it happens.
As they step forward, you maintain the outer perimeter with a heavy Muay Thai teep to the thigh. They stumble, they recover, and they rush you with a wild haymaker.
So they've breached the outer wall.
You don't retreat. You intercept their momentum with a JKD star pit to the center line, simultaneously deflecting their heavy arm using the whip-like vector mechanics of the Mantis hook.
Their kinetic energy just flows right past you.
The hook adheres to their arm, pulling them forward into a Muay Thai swan neck clinch. You snap their posture downward, slide into an 18th century Edo period alleyway takedown, and use pure skeletal leverage to drop them into the ground without expending a single ounce of brute strength.
It is a theoretical masterpiece of combat synthesis.
It really is.
It perfectly blends ancient neurological awareness, modern biomechanics, and ruthless efficiency. But, as with any deep dive, we cannot simply marvel at the theory.
We must subject this hybrid engine to rigorous, critical evaluation.
Does this actually work for a human being in the real world?
Right. We have to ruthlessly examine the true viability of the system. Let's start with the positives. What are the undeniable core strengths of the Shingan water mantis architecture?
Its primary strength is its biomechanical accessibility.
Meaning what?
It is an incredibly safe and highly effective system for smaller, physically weaker practitioners. Because the entire defensive matrix relies on the Mantis whip-like deflections rather than attempting to statically block heavy force, and because the finishing takedowns rely on Yagyu Munenori's skeletal leverage rather than explosive lifting strength, a 120-pound defender can theoretically control and neutralize a 250-pound attacker.
The physics scale perfectly.
Exactly.
It also provides brilliant psychological accessibility. By bolting the boundless, formless philosophy of JKD onto the highly structured, dopamine-rewarding ATA Taekwondo belt system, you give a complete beginner a safe, measurable on-ramp.
You give them a clear path to follow until they're ready to walk off the map.
However, we must play the devil's advocate here. A hybrid engine of this extreme complexity introduces severe physical and cognitive vulnerabilities.
It does.
Let's tackle the physical toll first. This system relies heavily on Muay Thai for its primary striking output and its fail-safe defensive wall. We talk about absorbing force with the shins and forearms.
The wall of defense.
But the medical data cited in the sources regarding Muay Thai training is incredibly sobering.
It paints a violent picture. According to the epidemiological studies referenced in our sources, soft tissue injuries make up a staggering 80 to 90% of all injuries sustained by Muay Thai practitioners.
80 to 90%. We are talking about severe contusions, hematomas, and muscle tears.
This is the direct result of repeated, high-velocity, blunt force trauma to the soft tissues. During hard sparring and competition, Muay Thai utilizes very little protective padding compared to other combat sports.
Right, it's just raw impact.
Furthermore, as practitioners advance into the amateur and professional ranks where full power strikes are exchanged, the rate of skeletal fractures skyrockets.
And the sources list the most common fracture sites. The nasal bones, the delicate carpal bones in the wrists, the metacarpals and digits in the hands from heavy impact, and severe rib fractures from absorbing body kicks and knees.
Even operating under a defense-first JKD philosophy, actively utilizing the Muay Thai elements of this system will inevitably subject the human body to massive wear and tear.
That's unavoidable.
Checking a heavy kick with your shin bone, day after day, year after year, takes a tremendous toll on your skeletal integrity.
That's the hardware degradation. But you also pointed out a massive software vulnerability, a cognitive weakness.
Yes. The extreme cognitive load required for microsecond context switching.
Explain the neurobiology of that. What actually happens in the brain when you try to run this system?
Think back to the flawless sequence you visualized a moment ago.
Yeah.
A practitioner must transition from a Muay Thai teep, which relies on a very specific biomechanical posture and hip alignment, directly into a northern praying mantis hook, which fires down completely different neurological pathways and requires entirely different weight distribution, and then instantaneously execute a samurai leverage takedown.
You are demanding that the human brain forcefully shut down and boot up 3 completely different operating systems in the span of 1.5 seconds.
All while under the massive chemical dump of an adrenaline response. Under extreme life-threatening stress, the human brain's HPA axis floods the body with cortisol and adrenaline. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for complex multi-step problem solving, essentially goes offline.
It shuts down.
The brain defaults to the basal ganglia, relying entirely on its grossest, most deeply ingrained motor skills.
The fight-or-flight response doesn't care about your intricate samurai takedowns. It just wants to throw wild punches and survive.
Fusing these highly disparate arts together so deeply that the transitions bypass the prefrontal cortex and become completely subconscious muscle memory. That is not something you achieve at a Tuesday night seminar.
No.
It requires decades of dedicated, highly stressful, cross-disciplinary training to myelinate those specific transitional pathways. Most humans simply do not have the time or the neuroplasticity to ever achieve true fluidity in the system.
It is the ultimate cost of running a complex, open-source OS. It takes an astronomical amount of processing power, and it might just crash when you need it most.
It might.
But that very vulnerability brings us full circle back to the absolute brilliance of the bolt-on nature of the engine.
How so?
Let's say a practitioner spends 10 years running the Shingan water mantis system. They hit their 40s. The Muay Thai shin checks and the heavy physical toll are destroying their joints.
Very common.
Or perhaps the context switching between mantis hooks and samurai takedowns is just too cognitively demanding under pressure. What happens if they want to evolve the system?
Like what?
What if they want to bolt on Tai Chi to dramatically soften the physical toll and simplify the biomechanics?
Because the entire foundational architecture is built on the JKD mandate to absorb what is useful and discard what is useless. Bolting on Tai Chi isn't a violation of the system.
It's a feature.
It is the system functioning exactly as intended. It is historically and mechanically perfectly viable.
And we don't have to guess if that works because we see the definitive proof right in the sources.
We do. We know that the internal mechanics of Tai Chi were already a deep-root influence for Bruce Lee as he stripped away the rigidities of Kung Fu to build Jeet Kune Do.
The DNA is already compatible.
Furthermore, the northern praying mantis masters definitively proved that this integration yielded devastatingly effective results.
The sources highlight lineages tracing back to highly revered masters like Qishushan, Wang Yushan, and Zhao Zuxi.
Yes.
They looked at the rapid external mechanics of the mantis system, realized they needed softer internal flow to balance the physical toll, and successfully bolted Tai Chi directly onto the framework.
They birthed entirely new, thriving branches of the martial arts family tree, specifically the Tai Chi praying mantis and Tai Chi plum blossom lineages. They proved that the code compiles perfectly.
And these weren't just theoretical exercises in a peaceful dojo. The sources recount that Master Zhao Zuxi earned the nickname Chuk Kai, or Bamboo Creek, after a legendary, brutal battle where he utilized his Taiji Mantis skills to successfully defend himself against a group of armed bandits.
Wow.
We know this modular evolution works in the blood and mud of the real world.
It demonstrates that the Shingan water mantis engine is never a fixed, finished product. It is a living framework designed for endless, modular expansion.
That's the beauty of it.
If a piece of the code breaks your body, you delete it. If a new app works better for your specific height, age, or environment, you bolt it on. You are the eternal architect of your own survival.
So what does this all mean for you listening to this right now?
Good question.
Why should you care about the biomechanics of a theoretical hybrid martial art if you have absolutely zero intention of ever stepping onto a mat, throwing a teep, or dealing with a street fight?
Because the underlying bare metal philosophy of this engine is profoundly applicable to how you navigate the friction of your daily life.
Think about it. Adopting a defense-first mindset doesn't have to mean protecting your jaw from a right hook.
All right.
It means violently protecting your mental and emotional energy in a toxic workplace, or navigating a difficult relationship without constantly going on the offensive.
Developing your mind's eye, your Shingan, means cultivating the empathy and observational awareness to sense that the intentions, anxieties, and shifting moods of the people around you.
Which allows you to de-escalate a conflict long before a harsh word is ever spoken.
Embracing the ATA evergreen mindset means having the humility to accept that you are a white belt in many areas of your life, whether that's a new career, a new skill, or a new phase of parenthood.
It means allowing yourself the grace to slowly grow deep, immovable roots, rather than being paralyzed by the expectation of overnight mastery.
And ultimately, embodying JKD's formless flexibility means truly emptying your cup. When you face a sudden, chaotic obstacle in your life, do you stubbornly rely on the rigid, outdated habits and emotional patterns that you've always used?
Or do you flow around the obstacle like water, absorbing only the tools, advice, and perspectives that are actually useful for that specific, unique moment?
You don't need to be a fighter to build your own mental, bare metal operating system. You just need to be willing to rewrite your own code.
If we pull all of these threads together and connect this back to the absolute, purest, most conceptual essence of the art, it raises a deeply fascinating, almost paradoxical question.
I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to ponder. Something we haven't explicitly addressed yet in all our talk of biomechanics and defensive matrices.
Lay it on us.
If the ultimate expression of the Shingan water mantis system is entirely predicated on sensing the opponent's intentions via the mind's eye before they move, and perfectly intercepting their attack via Jeet Kune Do's economy of motion.
Right.
What happens when two absolute flawless masters of this exact same style fight each other?
Oh, wow.
If both fighters possess a fully realized Shingan, each sensing the other's intention to strike before a single muscle fiber twitches, and both are completely formless, water-like, waiting entirely to intercept the other's forward momentum.
Does the fight ever actually become physical?
Think about it. If they are both perfectly calibrated to wait, intercept, and exploit forward momentum, then whoever moves first inherently compromises their structure.
Whoever attacks first loses.
Exactly. They are locked in a bioneurological stalemate. Does a physical blow ever land? Or is the entirety of the battle fought and conclusively won entirely in the mind, mapped out in a fraction of a second via the mind's eye, before a single step is ever taken across the courtyard?
It's the ultimate game of chess where neither player will move a pawn because they already see the checkmate 20 moves deep. That is an incredible, profound thought to chew on.
It really makes you wonder.
The ultimate, most lethal operating system might just be the one that is so perfectly optimized it never actually has to run the combat program at all. I want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the source code of combat, adaptability, and the evergreen mind. Keep emptying your cup, keep growing those deep roots, and we'll see you on the next one.